What is up, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the Father Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Chew, here to talk a little fatherhood, fantasy football, and everything in between. Now, today we'll be talking about 6 polarizing rookies prior to the live drills for the NFL Combine. And before I get there, of course, very excited to talk rookies. The Combine, while I know it's not the best barometer and reason to be higher or lower on a prospect necessarily, it's still exciting to watch, and the NFL knows that. It's the even the offseason for the NFL is incredible. But before I get there, it kind of sparked an interest in me to do a scouting report for my son, Finn. He will be a rookie, of course, later this year, going to elementary school in his first year in kindergarten. So I figured, why not do some strengths and weaknesses in football style in terms of kind of the terms I use, but kind of give it a little twist to it. So jumping to the first one, so we've got his first strength, high motor. And when that comes to a football player, it's the going and going, not needing to step off the field for a break or anything like that. That's Finn. He just keeps going. And I know that's kind of what any parent will see is their kid, just that endless energy. And Finn certainly has that in spades. So next up, the second one is his start-stop ability. Now, for football players, that would be, of course, the start-stop, their ability to create that separation or use that explosive start out of the stop and what have you. For Finn, it's a different story. So the start part is my wife and I start talking, having a conversation. Could be in the car, could be at home, that sort of thing. And he is very good at stopping that from happening. So it could be him wanting to ask us a question. He could be making a very loud and possibly inaccurate animal noise, or any other number of interruptions that he chooses to have there. And the last of the 3 strengths, short area quickness. So much like the high motor, I'm sure a lot of parents understand the kids just being gone in the blink of an eye. It can very much be at home. You turn around for a second after asking, hey, do you want this snack or whatever? Yes, got it. Turn around, a sincere 1 or 2 Mississippi. Turn right back around, gone. Likely around the corner back in the playroom or ran over to the couch. But it wasn't even like trying to run away from me. It wasn't like actively doing that. It was just he wanted to do something else. So then he just, after me asking the question, him giving an answer, gone. And that is his short area quickness. So hitting on a couple of weaknesses, and I'm his dad, so I can say that. So late hands is the first one. And while this is something that would maybe be a pro or something you would want to have as, say, a wide receiver, late hands to kind of manipulate the defensive back, Finn's late hands are too late when it comes to trying to catch something. They've gotten better. It definitely has gotten better over the years. But when I see this, it's late hands as in you go to throw something to him and say, like a Nerf ball or something, and his hands are sincerely too late to catch it. So then it, hits him in the head, whatever. He also thinks it's hilarious, so maybe that's part of it. Second one, body control. And I think a lot of parents can also speak to this one too. So Finn generally just kind of ignores where his body is positioned in the world. That can be where he's at in a chair, not realizing that kind of like sitting on the end of it could possibly lead to falling out of it. Being on the top of the couch could lead to rolling off of it. What else? I mean, anything kind of in that realm, say running and trying to cut a corner too sharp and like kind of just catch the shoulder on the door frame or something like that. A lot of that stuff where it's kind of just like, it's the high motor, it's the energy, it's all that. And then it's just the go, lack of focus on things that have happened. And it's not like he's never done it before. So it's like you would assume he would learn from the previous time, but he does not. And last but not least, lean frame. So this is something that can often hinder running backs to a degree, certainly any position when it comes to overall durability in a tremendously physical game such as football. For Finn, it's a similar thing, not necessarily in the physical nature of just being 5 years old. But we have 3 dogs here, and so we've got Rex, the German Shepherd, probably 85-ish pounds, maybe 90. Mookie, the Plot Hound mix, he's probably 40, 50 pounds. And Lady, she is the Husky Chow mix, so basically like a black Husky with a Chow tongue. Pretty wild. She's probably similar, about 40 or 50 pounds. So, I mean, collectively, 180 pounds a dog. And Finn loves to just run around, as has been well established at this point. And with that, the problem is the dogs also love to run around. So, say if he's in the house and he's, runs down the hallway, kind of does his little loops or what have you. When he runs, which he knows that this is the case, he gets excited because the dogs will chase him. That's fun. What isn't fun is when his lean frame is not able to keep him upright when he runs around a corner, stops, and then one, if not all 3 of the dogs run around the corner following him, not knowing he stopped, and then he might catch a hip check or whatever, and again, everybody's fine. No one gets hurt or whatever, but he's sometimes learned that, but then sometimes I think he just kind of lets it go out the window and he's like, I want to have fun. I want to play with the dogs, and that's how it's going to be. So yeah, those are the strengths and weaknesses for my son Finn. That's his scouting report, and that is ahead of his rookie season at elementary school. So he'll be in kindergarten later this year. So as we're all getting ramped up to watch these 2024 rookies in August and September, I will be trying to hold back tears as my son is already in elementary school. So I already feel it with my body deteriorating as an old person, but definitely makes me feel older knowing that Finn's going to be in real, school after preschool at this point. So can't believe it. So jump into the 6 most polarizing rookies ahead of the NFL Combine. And in case, again, as of this moment, so the Combine has already started, but how that works is the live drills that I think everyone thinks of when they think of the Combine has not started yet, and they will be starting today, the day that this is released. But the more exciting ones won't happen until Friday, which is the tight end one in terms of fantasy relevant positions. And on Saturday is the extravaganza of quarterback, running back, wide receiver. So again, it's all mostly building to Saturday for the most exciting part of it. But talking about these polarizing rookies, this is 2 players at each of the couple of positions, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and 2 wide receivers. Did not get to tight ends on this one. But did a Twitter poll and picked the top 2 at each one. So for quarterbacks, first up, we've got J.J. McCarthy with 42% of the vote. And for this, picking a couple of pros from the believers and a couple of cons from the detractors. So these are not my thoughts initially. These are just the thoughts of kind of the consensus. So the believers, talking about his efficiency on third down and overall ability to kind of handle pressure, that quick release and arm talent that you see, the overall athleticism, so a combo of, I guess, kind of the athletic frame and mobility, and him being a younger prospect, of course, implying higher potential or, I guess, ability or room to grow versus some of the guys that are maybe a couple of years older than him at the quarterback position. A couple of cons from the detractors, though. So they note the athleticism, but they do point out the slender frame. And, given his size, I want to say he's 6'3", a bit slight and uses that mobility, but, if he doesn't have enough meat on his bones, is there a concern about durability and that sort of thing? Another one, throwing deep outside the numbers. So being able to kind of drop it in the bucket, so to speak. Having, again, I think with the arm talent and everything, he's got the power to get it there, but can he kind of blend the power and the touch to kind of drop it into where it needs to be? And the last one, not asked to do much. Of course, he is a younger prospect, but also, the team that has surrounded him, whether it be his offensive weapons around him, including his run game, of course, with Blake Corum, or the very strong defense as well. There's a thought of, he wasn't, at what point did he necessarily put the team on his back to win the game? And that can be a concern in the sense of, if we're not seeing him do it at the collegiate level, do we just think out of nowhere he's going to do it in the NFL? Or is kind of the counter to that, it's not his fault that he was or wasn't asked to do certain things. All we can look at is what did he do? Did he do it well? And his growth beyond that, no one can necessarily know. If he lands in a good situation, gets a chance to grow and learn from another quarterback, a good coach, coordinator, that sort of thing. But we can't know that yet. And, just my thoughts on J.J. McCarthy. He's my quarterback 4 in this rookie class. I was comping him to Brock Purdy and Matt Corral. Again, there is arm talent there. I do see that. There's also certainly not just mobility. I feel like mobility, depending on kind of how you take it and how you say it, it might be a bit limiting in terms of what he's really doing. Again, in a couple of games that I watched of just being able to watch his film, I mean, specifically watching his Penn State game this year in 2023, or I guess last year. One thing that he really did in all the games I watched specifically was his ability to effectively read and operate the play action and RPO style offense. But in the Penn State game specifically, not just in that, but he really used his legs to kind of open up that offense. That Penn State defense was menacing at every level, and I feel like he was getting a couple of different chunk plays and not using his mobility in, I would say, a reckless way necessarily, but using it to get some chunk plays, to keep moving the ball forward, certainly at times when it seems like it was slowing down a bit, and that was very impressive. The one thing that it does stick out certainly is I am still concerned with him kind of really only working within inside the numbers as it works to where he's passing and where he's throwing the ball. But again, if that's something that we're not seeing him even attempt to do a lot, is throwing outside the numbers, I can't necessarily knock that he hasn't done it, because, I saw a couple of times where he would kind of sail him past, and it's like, okay, well, he does need to work maybe on the touch and how he's going to do that. But there kind of goes in the thought of like, well, he hasn't been asked to do it too much. He's a younger prospect. He's got a good arm. He's got a good frame. And do we think that we can kind of help build that over time, which is very possible. But overall, I mean, his arm talent, it's fun. He did do very well in that offense. That short to intermediate stuff, kind of within, from the line of scrimmage out maybe, 15, 20 yards. He was very good at, accuracy was erratic at times, but I feel like he was very good at getting the ball in the hands of his receivers quickly, and certainly throwing it, it wasn't just waiting until someone's open. There was actually a couple of moments where it was seeing him, planting it in his receivers' hands as they were covered. Something that I feel like is, can be talked about in college, saying, but they're not throwing someone open. They're just throwing when they're open. So pretty impressive there. Jumping to the second most polarizing quarterback, and this one is a much lower percentage as far as compared to McCarthy's 42%. Jayden Daniels, 24% on the poll. So he was a narrow second place. So for him, the believers, the pros that they have for him, athleticism, of course, agility and just overall threat in the open field. His pocket mobility and awareness, his touch, especially on deep balls. So kind of the counter to J.J. McCarthy is what we're saying. And his ability to throw on the move, if not a willingness and wanting to be moving while he's throwing. The detractors, so the cons of what people would say, lean frame. So he is a pretty lean frame, certainly when you look at it from the standpoint of him being a mobile quarterback. And from some of the tape I watched, just being so concerned about just go out of bounds. Another one, arm strength, just okay. That's what people were saying. Again, between that and the accuracy on the shorter to intermediate stuff. So as a whole, just kind of looking at Jayden Daniels, he is my quarterback 3 in this rookie class. I was comping him to Lamar Jackson and Tyrod Taylor. So what I see from him is, again, the athleticism and ability to run readily apparent. Again, I don't think his ability is as good as Lamar Jackson, but I mean, just in terms of like kind of the style, but the fact that Jayden Daniels does need to work on, what one of the cons being his accuracy and short to intermediate throws. In the tape I watched, it was a bit all over the place when it came to these crossing routes, where just not being able to kind of put it on him quickly and accurately. But that being said, him being able to get the ball deep and with the right touch and kind of in stride to his receivers, I think was tremendously impressive. So next up is the running backs, and the polarizing running backs. First on the list here is Braelon Allen with 41% of the vote. So Braelon Allen, the pros or the believers, what they like about him. We've got his age. He's not 21 until the end of his rookie season. So in January, so almost a year from now, he will be 21. The footwork for a guy his size, so a guy that's essentially a Derrick Henry-sized running back, and the blend of patience and power. But the cons, so people maybe not necessarily believing as highly in Braelon Allen, what they're saying is the concern with ball security issues, his blocking, considering his size and strength, that's per PFF, a rating there, and his lack of home run or pull away long speed. And for me, looking at Braelon Allen, so I have him as my 9th running back in this rookie class. I comped him to Brandon Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. When I watch him, again, the ball security issues, that's something I certainly saw. He is very much a bit of a one cut, and is very good at falling forward. But I feel like it's the one cut, and it was saying that the footwork for a guy his size is impressive. Very much agree. But oftentimes it is really just focusing on the one cut and falling forward. And I know with a guy his size, and this is something why I had Brandon Jacobs as a comp as well. So Braelon Allen being hit the size that he is, I don't think that he runs in the same way that Derrick Henry does necessarily. He has his stiff arm moments, he has his trucking moments, but I feel like with some of his stuff, I'm seeing him pulled down often enough by what I feel like someone like a Derrick Henry, who again same size guy, would be able to kind of push or break through and not be pulled down by. And so it feels like the power can maybe kind of come and go, and it can maybe depend on with his height, if he's able to kind of set it up and adjust that pad level. So again, watching him when he's trucking someone over, I'm seeing him adjust that pad level and kind of, making that happen. But when he's not getting the chance to do that, maybe the power is not quite as effective. And, him being a bigger back, again, talking about lacking the breakaway speed, he can't pull away necessarily from some of these guys. So there's that concern there. But so jumping over to the second most polarizing rookie running back in this class, Blake Corum with 31% of the vote. So looking at him, we've got from the believers, the pros for Blake Corum. He's got good vision and awareness. His power and, certainly with his size, his, ability to use his power, his pad level as leverage to generate power, and good initial burst. So, after getting that handoff and kind of that one cut up field, good burst there. But the cons from the people that are maybe not quite as high in Corum, so his size, again, a much shorter prospect than most of these other guys. His age, he will be a bit older than most of these running backs as well. And his breakaway or long speed, he's not going to be able to get where he needs to solely based on him pulling away. But I do think there's one thing that he does tremendously well that has helped him kind of counter that. So for me, he is my RB7 in this class. And I was comparing his game to Justin Forsett and Tyler Algier. So for me, the one big takeaway, and again, I saw this in all the games I watched, whether it be the national championship, Penn State, Ohio State, it's his full field awareness. So when he's coming out of the backfield, again, as it was just mentioned, the breakaway speed's not really there. It's the true one-cut nature of knowing where he needs to go, and even when he sees initially where he needs to go with the hole, he's very good at getting to the second level and still looking and seeing how he needs to navigate it. So many times he's getting these touchdowns that, again, it's not because of his breakaway speed, but it's because he's getting through the line and already looking to the next level and being able to catch, the safety or whoever flat-footed or catch them kind of off balance, and he's already committed to the one way he's going to go, and he's able to just leave them in the dust. So while I understand that at the NFL level, you're going to get, every player is going to be bigger, stronger, faster than what they were in college. So it's really about the kind of blocking he's got, him working in a scheme that works well for him in offense, but also, him being a smaller guy, can he use that size to his advantage as he did in college? And, again, he's built like a brick shithouse. Like, he's a very powerful, strong running back. I know that can only go so far once you get to, again, the NFL with bigger guys, faster guys. But if he's able to, he might not get those long touchdown runs, but break off a couple of longer runs simply because of him having such tremendous vision as he's getting through the line. Something I thought was pretty impressive for him. Last but not least, we have the two most polarizing wide receivers in the rookie class for 2024. So the first one on the list, and this is the highest percentage of any of the polarizing players, is Keon Coleman with 49%. So looking for the believers in Keon Coleman, what they're saying is his size, so having the size and frame of just a true alpha X receiver, the ball skills, he's got a basketball background, so definitely understand that, and his, kind of quickness and suddenness. Again, a tremendously athletic guy, and the frame, the athleticism, wild. So the detractors, so the cons of, the non-believers of Keon Coleman are long speed, so him not necessarily being the one that's gonna break away with great long speed. His route running prowess and kind of that ability to create separation through that. Again, a number of contested catch situations, and that is likely due to this lack of separation. And his contested catch rate just being okay considering how big and athletic and everything that he is. He has a number of highlight plays, as I'm sure many people have seen, but the number in terms of his contested catch rate not being as high as I think some may have expected. So for Keon Coleman, he is my wide receiver 10 in this rookie class. Two comps I had for him, Marquise Colston, New Orleans Saints stud back in the day, and Kenny Galladay. So, for me, you just look at this guy, again, the size, the frame, the athleticism, it's there. The ball skills, again, you can see that basketball background when he plays. But the thing that I noticed, the blocking is a bit inconsistent. I feel like you see someone that is his size, and I'm seeing him, knock some people around, but I feel like it can kind of come and go in terms of just what do you want to call it, the willingness of blocking, that sort of thing. Him being like, you can see him when he's really engaged in that. I feel like he could be tremendously helpful to a run game. But overall, with the route running, you're not really seeing like a lot of suddenness in his cuts. Again, not really creating tremendous separation when he's running his routes, and not a tremendously diverse number of routes that he's running necessarily. Didn't really have to, because again, if you look at his size, his athleticism, and everything, he could just make it work. But I think at the next level, if he's able to kind of refine his game with his routes, kind of create more separation, continue to work on, everything else that, so many things that aren't teachable with just his general build and everything, but what the things that he can work on to improve, his intangibles and his ability to separate, I think could go a tremendously long way in having him be more of a Marquise Colston and a better end of this prototype than one that has maybe been less successful. So the last but not least, most polarizing player, this is the last wide receiver, and that is Troy Franklin with 28% of the vote. So the believers in Troy Franklin, seeing the pros as his ball tracking ability and his catch radius, his size and speed combination, so being a guy that's about 6'3" and also expected to run a sub 4.4 40 on Saturday, and him being a smooth route runner, but also a versatile route runner in terms of him being able to line up at different spots and still be effective on the field. His detractors would say a couple of cons for him. So, as we mentioned, big catch radius, he's fast and everything, but tall and lean frame. So, a bit of a concern there from the physicality standpoint. These other two kind of contribute or kind of branched off of that. So, blocking is just okay. Again, even in the effort he gives, he is a bit more slight and taller, so kind of tough to, get the right pad level and be forceful that way. And his ability against press coverage. So, again, watching him in the against Washington in the Pac-12 championship, I mean, they were physical with him, and he was not nearly as effective as he had been previously. So I think you got a taste for what can beat him and what can slow him down. For me, he is my wide receiver 4 in this class. I like him a lot. Again, the size speed combination. We've seen this before, and it could work out. It could not. We just don't know yet. The comps I had for him were George Pickens and DJ Chark. I think in terms of his prototype and everything, probably more DJ Chark. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think we've seen flashes from Chark, but I know at this point in his career, years down the road, he's battled injury here and there. He's bounced from team to team. Again, you see my Panthers gear in the background. Of course, he played a season with the Panthers. Don't expect him to be back. But again, he's a versatile player, and I feel like the most, assuming he stays healthy, again, because I know it's tricky with the taller wide receivers like that with that tremendous speed. He's a versatile guy, and getting him free releases off the line of scrimmage, I think, is going to be tremendous to allow him to be the best version of himself, to be smooth and threaten defenses to where he's maybe not the number one option, but he's the second option, and he can help take the top off of a defense while also really opening up things for the true number one receiver. But again, a high-level number 2 receiver, and in today's offense, I feel like there's plenty of offenses that can actually, feed and fuel 2 receivers with ample volume to be very fantasy relevant. So I definitely see that for him. So, well, that is the 6 polarizing players for this upcoming NFL rookie class. We got J.J. McCarthy, Jayden Daniels, Braelon Allen, Blake Corum, Keon Coleman, and Troy Franklin. So the NFL Combine, of course, has already started, but the live drills do not start until today, this Thursday. And the fun ones don't start until Friday, which is for tight ends, and the really fun ones on Saturday, which is quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. So whether you're a parent chasing your toddler or a rookie at the NFL Combine, just remember, Rule 18, limber up.